I'll be talking about something interesting. Let me just sip my tea. So now that I'm 30, I think it's safe for me to talk about my 20s. So on this video, I'm just gonna be reflecting on my 20s. Here goes. God, I'm glad I'm 30. I am so glad I'm 30. So okay, let's reflect. So I think my early 20s were, yeah, and I think it's probably everyone's early 20s. They were just, not that they were a mess, but there's a lot of self-discovery going on. You're trying to find yourself, you're trying to, see the things that you like, you're trying to choose a career that, is going to be your life, like whatever career you choose from there, that's your life, There's just so much going on in your early 20s because you're trying to figure out what kind of a life you want to somehow design for yourself. And yeah, that's a lot. It comes to a lot. And as people, we also deal with different issues, that impacted our lives in some ways. And it just, it becomes even worse, And yeah, I think for me, it was just a lot of that to say I was really worried. And I think what is my weakness, but now as an adult or as a 30-year-old, that is not, it's still there, but it's not as intense as it was when I was younger. That I was worrying a lot about how my future was going to look like, and yeah, and that led to a lot of anxieties and a lot of, unnecessary, anxiety, I would say, to say I was so focused on how my life, and just being scared of, what if it does not turn out the way I planned it to turn out, and I feel like most of the time there was just a lot of anxiety and a lot of worries, but also there were like great sides. It's not like it was only, it was only dull and hectic and whatever. There were also like great sides. Like I met great people in my 20s, and like I had a relationship with God, like a meaningful relationship with God in my early 20s, because I got baptized when I was 19. So from my early 20s going forward, that was just my life. Not to say my life with God was then easier. I still had challenges. I still had things that I had to battle, even though I had a relationship with God. But that was for me quite a, what can I say, like at least having that somehow will center me, or I'll be grounded in that to say, I'll always go back to who God say I am. And even though things were a bit hectic, but the fact that I cannot imagine my 20s without God, honestly, guys. Like I honestly cannot imagine how my life was going to be, because a lot happened in my 20s. I had to deal with a lot as a young adult, processing trauma, like just being depressed severely. So yes, it was just too much for me to deal with on my own. So I really credited everything to the relationship that I had with God then, and I still have now, and to Him just embracing me through ups and downs, dark moments, all those things that I had to deal with, in my 20s. And yeah, and then my mid-20s were they were better. Like when I was around 25, 26 day, it was better. I could see where I'm going in life in terms of career, in terms of the things that I would like to have in my life. I also got in a relationship, and because I like my early 20s was a mess. I didn't believe in relationships. I thought relationships were a mess. I thought this is the way people just want to hurt each other. I think maybe because I was just surrounded by relationships that maybe didn't really, like, maybe they were toxic in some ways. So I was just like, count me out. Like, count me out. I don't want to engage in any relationship with any guy, because I know the outcome, that people are just selfish and they just end up in this toxic environment. They just hate each other, and what's the point? So that's how my view was around relationships when I was still maybe 20, 21, somewhere there. Yeah, and until I ended up in a relationship with a great friend of mine, and it changed everything, just how he was as a human being. It changed my perspective on how I viewed relationships, and yeah, and now I was growing, because when you're 25, 24, around that age, you're kind of like maturing, and you're starting to look at life a bit differently. And I was just really calm at that point. It was just like, it is what it is. Yes, I don't know how my future is gonna look like, but I'm glad that I'm able to see where I'm going, because I have a career going on. Because now I was studying something that I really loved, unlike before where I was studying something that I didn't really love. So it was just a mess. Like those from 20, let's say from 19 to 23, somewhere there, my life was just a mess, basically. Like dropping out, trying to get a job, working in retail, and just hating my life. Basically, I hated my life. So in my mid 20s, when I was like 25 years also, actually from 24, then I was able to start to see life differently, because then I was now doing a degree that I kind of like, and things were better, even though there was still that side or that part of me that says, oh my god, am I gonna get the job that I want? Am I gonna be the person that I want to be? Like by the time I'm 30, am I gonna be where I actually want to be? And I feel like not that I wasted my time worrying, but also it stole so much joy from me and so much peace, just worrying about my future. And I feel like that's what most of us do in our 20s. We're just chasing those goals, and we're just trying to, it's like we're living in the now, but we're also living in the future. We're really worried about the future. We're trying to fix the future. We're trying to make sure that by that time we're where we want to be, and we miss out on what's happening around us. We miss out on taking in what's happening around us and just really living in the moment. And I feel like I had to struggle with that a lot, because I was anxious most of the time. Even when I was in that relationship, I was always worrying to say, okay, are we gonna get married? Are we gonna, like, things like that, that now I'm living in the future instead of enjoying where I'm at, trying to fix my life in the future, instead of just relating with this person and enjoying their company and enjoying them as a person. So I think that's what I've learned, to say, chill, like, God, chill. But then when you look at it from our side, like now when I'm looking back, I'm like, yes, that's how I look at it now as an adult or as a 30-year-old. Guys, I don't know, I just love being 30. Anywho, back to business. So I'm like, but then, okay, maybe I needed to make those mistakes. Maybe I needed to look at life that way. Maybe it made sense for a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old, whatever that was. But now when I look back, I'm just like, God, you should have just chilled. You should have just lived in the moment, take it as it comes. Because at the end of the day, there's a plan that I have for my life, and there's a bigger plan that God has for my life. And those things don't always align. And I need to get to a point where I'm able to make peace with that. And I think most of my 20s were just me struggling to make peace with the fact that I have ideas as to where I want to be, or how I want my life to look like. And then there's the ultimate idea, or a divine idea, which is God's idea and God's plan about my life, where He wants me to be, what kind of things He wants to expose me to, when, with who, and how, So I needed to really, like, I was put in a place where I was supposed to learn to kind of like submit or surrender to God's plan for my life, which was very hard. And also the other thing about 20s is that we live in a life where because now things are starting to happen, right? All those dreams that you had, you're starting to see your friends having those things. Like, they're getting that nice job, they're getting married, they're having children, and then you just feel left behind, because now there's comparison that comes in, like where you're now starting to compare. Comparison, where you start to compare now yourself with your friends, to say, this is where they're at, I wish I was where they're at. And forgetting that at the end of the day, we're not gonna get or step into the spaces at the same time, or I might not step into those spaces because that's not where God wants me, And now as a 30-year-old, I just sit down and I'm like, relax. Like, there's my timing and there's God's timing, and those things, they're never the same. They're hardly the same. And for me now, I'm just like, just wait upon the Lord. Yes, it's hard. And also the things that I worry about now, the fundamental things, like the things that maybe I shouldn't be worrying about. Actually, I shouldn't be worrying about anything, because God said I shouldn't worry about anything but pursuing Him. And that's what I worry about now the most, my relationship with God, like where I'm standing with Him. And when I wait for something, how I wait, sometimes it does get messy when I'm waiting, but it's really important that I just hang in there and hold on to the truth that I know, knowing that God is a God who comes through and in ways that are good for me, that everything works out for my own good and His will is perfect for me, you know. And I'm just learning that now as an adult to say, God will do it when He does it. And I just need to learn to somehow wait upon that. And yeah, but at this stage in my life, I'm really resolved in that. I'm really resolved in the fact that I can have as many plans for my life, but God's plan will always prevail. And my 20s taught me that. They taught me that a lot, because at the end of the day, I'm where God wants me to be. Because if it was my plan and my power, believe me, I'll probably be in Paris in some mansion. Like, yay, I'll be that girl. But because it's not my life, it's God's life. He gave me this life and He designed it the way He designed it. I'm where I'm at. And I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. If God is here with me, I'm cool with that. And yeah, I think that's just what my 20s taught me more than anything. Thank you for listening. Maybe I'll have a part 2 because I feel like I have a lot to say about my 20s. But for now, let's just end it here. And thank you so much, guys, for listening. Do subscribe. Okay, do share, do comment, and do subscribe. Thank you.